Hi, it's Jay from J Schwanke's Life in Bloom, and I'm here with English Gardens to create container gardens with you today. And so I thought it's a really good idea right now for us to support our bee population. It's extremely essential that pollinators become an important part of how we garden. And that can translate even to our container gardens. I know some of us all don't have a garden that we can garden in, but we may have a container garden on our front porch or maybe even on our deck. And I love having a container garden that's dedicated to the pollinators. They come all summer long and they're visiting this, and I'm helping the pollinator population. We have a show in season 3 of J Schwanke's Life in Bloom called Pollinators in Bloom. And it talks about what we can do to help our pollinator population and flowers and plants that you can plant to increase those pollinators in your garden. It's a fun thing for us to watch. So I thought this was a beautiful container. It's one of the Chelsea Gardner containers from our friends at English Gardens. I love the fact that it is kind of a smoky teal color. Obviously, it's pottery. It's got a hole in the bottom. Okay, that's really important. We don't want a sealed container because we want to be able to water thoroughly and let that water expel out the bottom. So let's talk about drainage first. Drainage is super important. So we can have rocks in the bottom of our container. I'm going to put in about this much of rocks and stones. These are actually perfect for this. I'm positioning one of the bigger ones over the top of that hole. And I think I need just a few more. That looks about right. This is Spanish tile. You can use any type of rocks. Lava rocks are super helpful because what happens then is we don't have a lot of weight in our container, so that's important. Next, we have soil. So now we're at about that level down inside there, okay? Here, I'm rattling around in there. I love that. Okay, so we are going to add, I have our regular, the Proven Winners Premium Garden Planting Soil, okay, that I got from our friends at English Gardens. I was in the store the other day. It's just so amazing. I mean, it's just so beautiful. There's so many things to choose from. And I love, just being able to wander around in a garden center and look at the different things that are there, look at the different things that are available to us. And I had so much beautiful stuff to choose from. It was so great. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover my soil, cover my stones inside there with my soil, okay? So I want to make sure that we get that covered up so that we don't have roots sitting on soil. We want roots sitting on dirt. And then I'm going to add a little bit of our organic fertilizer. I think that that's just a great opportunity for us to shake a little bit of that in there. It's time released, it's long lasting. That's going to be helpful to everybody. And it's going to be down inside there. So as we're watering, going through the summer, things are getting longer. We've got that. Now, one of the things I think about is when we have a pollinator, I've chosen colors for this. And I'm going to go with a complementary color, but then I'm going to mix it up at the end by adding a split complement in. And so what we're going to do is we're going to be using yellow and purple flowers together. When we see those, we're going to create excitement. The other thing is that when we're looking at our tags at English Gardens, we want to look for things that are pollinator friendly, and that's super important. So my anchor for this is going to be a coreopsis. And this is the Jethro Tull coreopsis. And I'm going to add him here. Now what I'm going to do is I just want to come inside here and I'm going to break off a little bit of this. This is actually a perennial, okay? And so here's my thought process. I like to make my money go as far as I possibly can when I'm planting my container gardens. And so what I'm going to do with this is great because it's actually a perennial. So at the end of the season, I'm going to be able to move it to a different location in my yard, okay? Which is going to be great because then next year it's going to come back year after year after year. So I've got that leveled up right there towards the bottom of my, I don't want it to be sitting up above the edge. You'll notice today that I'm working on a turntable, and I think that that's great because it allows you to kind of see what we're doing. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to snug this Jethro Tull coreopsis, great little pollinator benefactor right here, up against one side. So then I'm going to create things on the other side. So my container garden is going to be asymmetrical. It's going to be larger on this side, and it's going to have smaller things on the other side. The next thing that I'm going to add is a Rose Marvel Salvia, okay? Another super be attractive. And so we're just going to pop it out of our container there. And look at that great color. Isn't that amazing? And again, what I want to do is I'm going to break up this root ball at the bottom, because if I do that, it's going to instigate more root growth for the rest of the season. And again, I'm just going to snug him in right here next to that. Now, what you can see is I've got a little spot right there for something special, okay? And so I got super infatuated with the Proven Winners Nemesia. I think that they're a great flower. And I noticed last year that there were so many pollinators all over the Nemesia and that they loved them. Butterflies, bees, moths, all sorts of fun stuff. I even had some hummingbird moths coming in for that Nemesia. And so I figured, you know what? This is a great little surprise in my container garden, and it's going to slip right in between those two. So I'm just going to tuck it down right inside there. And look at how that sits inside there. Isn't that great? Because I've got that contrast of that purple and that yellow together. Now, here's another thing. I've got this side over here. And notice this is taller. My Nemesia is shorter. So I'm going to want something to be a little more low here. And I have to tell you, I am a sucker for phlox. I love phlox, and I know that we plant them in our yards. I know that we do all that kind of stuff, but I like to use them in container gardens, again, because at the end of the year, then I can come back in, I can grab this guy, and I can put him into my landscaping, and I'm going to have him for years to come. So I'm just going to grab a little bit of soil, my Proven Winners premium potting soil, and I'm just going to make sure I got plenty down inside there, okay? And then we are going to put this phlox right on top of that. Now, one of the things I like, and I think you'll notice this and you'll find this out about me, we'll talk about it, is that I like to make sure that my pots look great immediately. I travel a lot, and so I want to make sure that those pots are really looking great right away, so that when I'm having guests, somebody's coming over, somebody's looking at the yard, I'm looking at the yard, because the first person I want to please is myself. I want to make sure that it looks beautiful. So now look at that. We're going to have a wave of yellow blossoms up here. We've got the purple over here. We've got the pinks down here. And that was the emerald pink mountain pinks. I love that because in England, they call carnations pinks because it's a dianthus, okay? And so they always call them pinks. And I just think that that's a very charming thing. So when I saw that this was mountain pinks, I thought, oh yeah, I got to have that. That's wonderful. So now I've got room for one more plant right inside here. And I love lantana. I've always loved lantana since I was a little kid. And this Proven Winners, this is the Luscious Citrus Blend. I had this last year and I was just wild about it because it has some oranges and some reds and some yellows that all come on, and it bloomed all season long. So again, I want to adjust those little roots at the bottom there. That's great. And then this little guy is going to go right into that final spot that I have right there. I'm just going to make sure I got plenty of room for him inside there. I do. And you know what? People talk about the thriller in the middle and the fillers that go along next to it, and then the spillers that are going to cascade over the side. And that's what this lantana is going to do. This lantana is going to be that little bit of a spiller that's going to come over the side like this. And look at that. Look at the contrast it offers in between those. And this is just going to get loaded with buds as the summer goes along. It was one of the last things, my lantana was one of the last things I had blooming in my garden before the freezes last year. That was the last thing giving me lots of color and lots of fun stuff. So I'm just going to come along here. I'm going to add a little bit more of this potting soil that I have. I just pulled off of those roots because I don't want to waste anything. Obviously, this is going to go into my potting bin, or if I have a compost heap with these pieces with roots in it, could go into my compost pile as well. this year on J Schwanke's Life in Bloom for season 4. We'll be building a compost receptacle in the yard, so that's going to be super fun. So let's just get this guy filled in. And again, I want to make sure that I'm going around my entire pot and making sure that I'm filling in any areas so that there is no gaps in there. Because when I water, I want to make sure that I'm soaking the water as best as I possibly can. And I want to soak it, then I want to let it get dry, and then I want to soak it again. Okay, now look at that. That looks awesome, right? And it's going to be a really, really pretty centerpiece for my yard. I love the fact that we've got the coreopsis, we've got the yellow there, and then of course our hold on, I got the rose marvel salvia. I knew we were salvia, but rose marvel salvia, artemisia, our lantana, our pinks there, and the coreopsis. It looks really great. The other thing I want to remind you about too is I love this color in the garden because I think that this kind of teal rustic patina finish looks really good. And so remember, if you have little wonderful artifacts in the garden, this is my little it's a triple tortoise stack, okay? Same color as this. Look at how great those go together. And suddenly that makes a focal statement in my garden so that not only is it attracting the attention of the pollinators, but it's attracting the attention of people that are looking at it too. English Gardens is the perfect resource when you're going to look for these items, and make sure when you're planning a pollinator container garden that you're looking for the ones that are bee friendly or have the butterfly on them so that you know they're going to attract them. It's a great way for us to be friendly to our pollinators and include them in our gardening. I hope you had fun with this container, and I'll be back again with English Gardens to show you a couple more container gardens too.